the left absolutely hates this movie. I mean, absolutely hates this movie. And again, I don't know why. I don't know why this is so controversial. It's just a movie. It's a movie about child trafficking, one of the most horrible crimes goes on around the world. It's not, I mean, this is real stuff. This actually happens. But yet, this has angered some folks out there. And we've been treated to articles like this all week. Rolling Stone is among the worst because Rolling Stone is hot trash. Sound of Freedom is a superhero movie for dads with brain worms. The QAnon-tinged thriller about child trafficking is designed to appeal to the conscience of a conspiracy-addled boomer. I don't get that. I don't understand why this angers people so much. Is it because it's made by a company called Angel Studios? Is it because they perceive it as being a Christian religious film?
Well, it wasn't made by Angel. We got to keep that in mind. And this is one of the things a lot of the reviews get wrong.
Yeah.
Because remember, this was made by Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Not by Angel. Another thing too is even some of the more positive reviews, they still talk about having a religious bent and all. It wasn't made by a religious studio. That was not part of the film when it was made. They're using it to sell the movie. But at this, as Paulie and any of us who have seen the movie, Mikey, could tell you, it is very, very subtle in the film if there's any kind of religious overtones whatsoever. Basically,
did Rolling Stone ever speak up against Weinstein and all that crew?
I don't know.
Did Rolling Stone ever speak up against cuties, though? Yeah, did Rolling Stone ever speak up about cuties and the exploitation?
Actually, yes, they did. They did speak about cuties. They praised it.
Exactly.
Did Rolling Stone ever speak up about that particular island where lots of people went, and we'll never find out what happened truly there?
Yeah, some airplane manifest.
Oh, but they will speak up. They will speak up, and they will trash anyone who wants to go watch a movie that's about protecting kids. Okay.
All these articles are talking about stuff that is not even in the film or a part of the film.
Exactly. And Paulie, I think Paulie must have stepped away for a minute.
Well, we can start with Tom's review, and then
and Mikey's seen it too.
Yeah, and I've seen it too.
Please, gentlemen, take the floor.
Well, and as fathers, I know Mike and I really probably, that's one thing. As a parent, you'll have a certain kind of reaction to this movie that I don't think others will have. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can associate with this film or, have certain kind of, emotions to it. But it's one of those movies that really does make you think as a parent because you don't realize how big of a problem this really is, right? And don't let any of these stupid articles fool you with the bullshit they're saying. It is based on a true story. They even have actual footage of the main event at the end of the film. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who actually wants to see it without any kind of spoilers. Not that it's really anything to spoil necessarily, because the whole
shame this took 5 years.
Yeah,
it's a shame that something like this took 5 years of fighting to get it onto screens for people to see.
And Caviezel says it at the end of the film because he comes on. He says it took us 5 years to get this, and they went through every hurdle we could. They put every obstacle in our way, but we still managed to get it out. And now the whole reason we want this out here is it's important that you guys hear this story of this brother and sister. And that's
what Hollywood can't figure out.
About.
Why won't you go see our movies? Why won't you come see what we're making?
And well, let's see. You're trying to prevent films like this from coming on the screen. That's why
it's okay.
That's why the average person can't stand Hollywood right now.
It's okay, if it's a movie about Liam Neeson saving his fake daughter. That's fine, right? You can have 100 movies every year where they're about similar kind of things, and nobody bats an eye. But one time, Jim Caviezel's in a movie about it where it's actually based on a true story. Then they freak out about it. And again, I'm not going to get into a lot of the basic accusations people are throwing at Disney and the elites that were involved in possibly keeping this movie down. We can all imagine why they wouldn't want this movie out there. Let's say that. But the other side of it that's really bothering me is they're besides the media trashing this film and going after it and trying to smear it with this campaign, we're hearing that theater chains and mainly AMC are causing screenings of this movie to be disrupted. And the common thing is the AC doesn't work. So they'll cancel their showing at the last minute.
Well, I had not heard that. That would be extraordinarily disappointing.
That is,
And
that
it's
is-
actually
Theater chains are doing
happening in multiple places. There's a YouTube video out there of it, and if you
there's
look in the
also
comments,
there's also TikTok and Instagram.
I was gonna say there's people chiming in
that-
saying they've ran into similar issues and they're very upset.
That sounds to me
And-
like something that's probably local, though. I'm going to be a little bit slow to criticize AMC as a whole. That sounds to me like punks, some punk teenager or 20-year-old who's supposed to be assistant manager to the theater pulling some crap.
We're not
who's
necessarily
reading this
saying
stuff on Rolling
it
Stone.
doesn't have to be a situation where AMC corporate headquarters is making it happen. The point of the matter is that that it's happening. I think
I'm with you. Yeah.
That's the thing is I can
point.
see somebody like Disney, and again, I'm just speculating here. If it's true, if it's actually happening at multiple locations, as reports have come in and have stated that they too have had their screenings disrupted by the AC, even though they go in and no other screenings are having a problem, and the AC is working everywhere else in the theater, it only seems to be disrupting these screenings of Sound of Freedom. And I could see Disney putting weight on a theater chain and saying, look, if you disrupt these screenings, it'll be good for you in the long run, right? And I could see
I could see one of these
this.
blue-haired, purple-haired, high school dropouts who's supposed to be
Or
assistant manager.
You're not wrong. I'm not saying that's
I'm going
not
to show them. We're never
plausible
going to show this. It's right wing. It's this is connected with all that Q stuff. I just read it on Rolling Stone. We're gonna turn the air off. Cancel it all. We're not going to show it here.
What bothers me is with all the stuff going on is we're living in a film that is literally trying to highlight a serious issue that's not just with the youth trafficking, that's trafficking in general that's been going on. And that is a highlighted thing that people need to get reunited with their families. You might not know what happened to your relatives or people related to you. And they're trying to downplay it as some type of weird ass highlight tabloid story rather than focusing on the, yeah, it is a actual real issue. And usually things like this, documentaries that were usually win Oscars back 10, 20 years ago, are now being highlighted as nothing more than a mindset of, oh, I just read this on the dark web. It's like they've taken they're trying to take the seriousness out again, and they're trying to downplay it as nothing more than a fiction because their fiction has failed.
And none of it is exploitative at all. They could actually have made it worse. Like if they really wanted to make this movie an exploitative piece of propaganda, they totally could have. This movie really is, and I hate to use the term, but in this sense it works, conservative with how it actually shows you the horrors of what these people go through in this type of situation, right? They don't exploit it as much as they could. It's tough watch as it is, as a PG-13. I mean, I can't imagine if they actually showed more than what they did already in this movie, and it's tame in comparison to what we actually know what goes on for real.
I'll say this. I've gotten several messages in the last 5 minutes, people sending me stuff about what's going on with AMC. Special thanks to B for sending me a direct link to the TikTok. I have lifted this up to a top priority for the week. So I have sent this over to Jonas, some of the others over at that Park Place, and we will get on this in the morning. We'll start contacting AMC and see if we can find out what's happening.
And please report anything you find out to me too, because I'm interested. Yeah,
absolutely. We'll get on this if there is some sort of actual conspiracy to hold back this movie, then we'll find out about it and we'll bring it. So,
yeah, you mentioned earlier that this could very well be something as simple as you've got employees at local franchises for these theaters that are acting against the will of, good business, I guess, as it were. Certainly, I don't think this is something that's at the directive of Adam Aaron, the CEO of AMC, or anybody else. It harkens back to a story that my kids told me recently. They were at a local bookstore. It was a Barnes & Noble, as a matter of fact. And they walked in, and my daughter came home and said, we just watched the staff grab an entire table of books from the front of the store and walk it to a back corner to go hide it while we were in there. The table was loaded with Donald Trump books. It's that kind of stuff. I mean, again, politics aside, right? I mean, but it's that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, that's not a directive from Barnes & Noble to do this. It's the same thing that kind of happened at some, certain Target stores with certain things. I think this is so pervasive in society now, where employees are just going to, they think that they can just do whatever they want, that their political will be done, as opposed to good business, as I said before.
Well, just to give people an idea of how this journalistic process works, unlike some of these mainstream press outlets that just make up whatever they want. We've got some theaters here that are listed that supposedly did this. So we'll be calling Vestal, New York. We'll be calling Morgantown, West Virginia, talking about the AMC theaters there. We'll ask, has this happened? Yes or no. We've got Owings Mills in Maryland. We'll call these theaters up, find out, did this actually happen? We can even fake it and say, hey, I lost my showing because of the AC issue. What do I do? And see what they say. And you go from there. If it turns out that all of these different locations are having this same AC issue, then you try to see, is there matching emails, right? So if the emails all look the same, all right, then you've got something that's coming from a higher level. Then you really want to know what's up. But you don't jump to those conclusions right away because you want to do the due diligence, make sure that it's not, like Valiant just said, a bunch of crazy emo kids out there who've bought into the woke Kool-Aid and are acting like a bunch of morons.
Here we go. This is it. This is the line. This is what they're going after, right? There is visible suffering all around us in America. There are poor and unhoused and people brutalized or killed by police. There are mass shootings. There's a lack of health care. There's climate disasters. And yet over and over, the far right turns to these sordid fantasies about godless monsters hurting children. Fantasies about people hurting children. Come on, man. Now, as in the 1980s Satanic Picnic, they won't even face the fact that most kids who suffer sexual abuse are harmed not by a shadowy cabal of strangers, but at the hands of a family member. To know thousands of adults will absorb Sound of Freedom, this vigilante fever dream, and come away thinking themselves better informed on a hidden civilizational crisis, well, it's profoundly depressing. Worse still, they'll want to spread the word.
We are. But you know what? It's not for these reasons they're saying here. And here's where I can pump in with what I was talking about the other day that Mikey's talking about, because there's two parts to this. First of all, none of the things that they're presenting are in this movie. Secondly, and this is what Mikey's talking about. Hollywood used to make movies like this all the time, right? After Philadelphia, money for AIDS research just started flooding in, for instance, right? Yep. After Harvey Milk movie, that's when a lot of, gay rights started changing.
Great examples.
After the movie In the Heat of the Night is when civil rights stuff started to really be brought to middle America, and people were starting to see these things happening.
So big they made a TV show off of it.
Because, Tom, Hollywood was really good at that drama message movie.
And it could tell you one of these stories in the safety of your own theater or home. And I've been drawing a parallel to this and the turmoil of the late 60s and early 70s. And it's really strange that they said that the same damn media said the same damn things about movies like Death Wish and Dirty Harry. But yet those movies were getting seen in droves by everybody because they were sick and tired of the political bullcrap that was going on at that time. I am drawing a parallel to this film because I've been saying for a while to Andre, and I maybe even Mikey's heard me say it too a few times, we need a Dirty Harry right now. We need a Death Wish. And I know it sounds weird saying a movie like that, which is kind of a fantasy, but guess what? They're not as much of a fantasy as you'd think. We're just historically looking at them as the way they are now. But when Death Wish came out, that was based upon somebody doing that for real. Same thing with Dirty Harry. Dirty Harry actually showed that you might want to have something like a CSI in case you do have serial killers and you want to keep track of all these people, because one guy can't handle all this work, right? It actually changed stuff, even as insignificant as you may think. But what else it showed is that it showed the coasts and it showed Washington that people had had enough of this crap. And I think this movie here is exactly the powder keg we need right now, because what has Disney and all these other companies been doing? They've been going after our children. They've been going after our children, and our mantra has been, leave the kids alone. And it's been something that can draw a line to parallel everybody politically, because you know what? People on both sides, regardless, as long as you're not a complete nut bar, you're pretty much leave the kids alone. Why are the kids even a part of this crap? We don't care who you want to marry. We don't care what you want to do to your own bodies. But at this point, leave the kids alone. And what is this movie about? What is this specific movie about? It is about the trafficking of children to the elites. And it was buried by the elites.